Which Chinese factory supplies for Louis Vuitton? Let me tell you the secret. Louis Vuitton had many Chinese suppliers, but they just don't admit it.
Yo, there's a confirmation on TikTok thanks to the tariff that everything is made in China.
Oh my God. Louis Vuitton is currently being dragged through the luxury mud. And by dragged, I mean that customers are swarming stores ready to return bags, demand refunds, and denounce the brand for what they now refer to as the biggest luxury scam of the decade. This is all because Chinese manufacturers recently revealed some important trade secrets that revealed that many Louis Vuitton products, yes, the ones you spent tens of thousands of dollars on believing were handcrafted in France or Italy, may actually be coming directly out of mass production warehouses in China. The timing couldn't be worse for fashion watchdogs. Join me today as we examine the largest scandal the luxury sector has ever encountered, and why this might literally spell the death of LV as we know it. TikTok detectives and irate influencers are already dissecting the luxury space since this news just opened the floodgates.
Our next story, let me ask you two questions. Do you own a luxury handbag and do you plan to buy one? Well then, here's some news for you. Recently, Italian prosecutors investigated the factories of Dior and Armani, and this is what they found: unsafe working conditions and illegal workers. But more importantly, they stumbled upon a crucial piece of information. Dior pays its suppliers $57 to make a bag. $57. That's around 5,000 Indian rupees for one bag. That's what it costs Dior, $57. Do you know how much they sell it for? Around $2,800. That's nearly 2.6 lakh Indian rupees, which is 50 times the cost of making. What explains this stupendous price mark?
The veneer of a luxury brand has suddenly collapsed in one of the biggest scandals of 2025, with Louis Vuitton at the epicenter of the chaos. The entire saga began with a shocking video that went viral that was taken from a Chinese factory, and the internet went crazy.
Say, as long as there's a tag saying made in China, the bag can never be luxury. However, in fact, more than 80% of the luxury bags in the world are made in China. But those luxury brands just won't acknowledge that. They take almost finished bags from China factories back to their own countries and just do the repackaging and logo installing, something like that. That way, the bags will appear at their boutiques as made in Italy or made in France. You know, those sophisticated European countries, which make you feel mysterious, royal, and thus luxury.
This wasn't just a behind-the-scenes video of how your favorite bag is made. A factory worker went live and casually spilled the kind of tea that ought to have had a warning label, revealing exactly how Louis Vuitton, the epitome of luxury and class, may have just pulled off one of the biggest scams in fashion history. Everyone for years believed Louis Vuitton's story, that their products were made with love and precision in Europe by artisans who had been crafting leather since the Roman Empire, or whatever fantasy they sold us. But this was a cold industrial reality check. It was an eye-opening, jaw-dropping revelation that hit like a thunderclap.
Breaking news. China just exposed the whole designer industry. I'm talking Louis, Versace, Dolce & Gabbana, Dior. A whole lot's fake. Now it's obvious why the Americans didn't want us to know what they were getting up to in China. If you still don't believe me, hit the search bar right there. Videos are all over TikTok. He was using your hard-earned money. Some people, their whole checks for the month. 500, 800, 1,000, 3,000, 6,000 for knockoffs. We're worth 15 bucks. This whole time you thought you were getting the best clothes from Italy? Nah, it was just knockoffs from China.
After the US imposed tariffs to put pressure on China, the drama really got out of control. However, China refused to comply with US demands, so they decided to fight back in a way that nobody had anticipated. They didn't just strike back economically. They also pulled back the curtain and revealed the extent to which American and European industries, including so-called elite fashion houses, are enmeshed in Chinese manufacturing. This is where things took a turn for Louis Vuitton because, according to this factory worker, more than half of the brand's bags, yes, the ones that people flaunt on Instagram and that are sold in velvet rope boutiques, are mass-produced in China. That's right. They weren't made in Paris or handcrafted in a secret European workshop, but rather were shipped off assembly lines in Chinese factories like knockoffs. However, these aren't knockoffs. They're the real thing, and Louis Vuitton has allegedly been selling that dream with a lie printed on the label.
Chinese factories are exposing luxury brands.
Made in Italy or made in France. Welcome to the real world. Now you see, those bags are made in China.
China makes 80% of your designer bags.
Who's the Chinese supplier behind Under Armour? Shenzhou International.
Nike shoes from China to your country?
Who are the suppliers behind Salomon, Timberland, New Balance, Adidas, Nike, la 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 la? First, Baocheng Factory.
It's not just calling them out, they're showing the world exactly where your $1,000 handbag or your $100 leggings are really being made. They're now offering you the same exact stuff, no middleman, no markup. In a bold move that seems more like economic warfare than manufacturing, Chinese workers are lifting the lid on $1 billion illusion. The bags, the shoes, the clothing that say made in Italy or designed in Paris, a huge chunk of them are actually being produced in China. And with Trump's new tariffs hammering Chinese exports, the factories are fighting back by selling directly to you online and calling out the whole hypocrisy. And on TikTok, it's gone.
Now, it should come as no surprise that people were incensed when they saw this for years. For years, buyers spent thousands of dollars believing they were getting a piece of fashion royalty or heritage craftsmanship. But now they realize they may have paid a down payment on what is basically glorified fast fashion with a fancy logo. The betrayal is genuine. People have been using talk to confront their own bags, check the tags, and post storytime videos in which they describe how they saved for months or even years to purchase something they believe to be rare, elite, and well worth the money, only to discover that they have been duped, hoodwinked, and luxury pill Louis.
Louis Vuitton's $20,000 lobster bag has to be one of the dumbest things I've seen since. Louis Vuitton's 2023 airplane bag, which cost $40,000. And it looks like I'm not alone in thinking this. The stock of LVMH, the company that owns Louis Vuitton, is down 10% since they announced it. They've lost $40 billion. Join me as I play the world's smallest violin for the CEO of LVMH, Bernard Arnault, who's now only the 4th richest man in the world. I think people are finally over it. They're done with paying top dollar for bottom shelf quality. Their reputation has never been the same ever since Dior, which is also owned by LVMH, of course, got busted by the Italian government for charging $3,000 for a bag that cost them $57 to have.
Louis Vuitton has yet to respond to the full extent of the criticism, but the harm has already been done. Consumers are clamoring for answers, people are barging into stores, and reputations are suffering since this isn't just a single brand. When word spread about LV's alleged lies, many people seem to be unaware that all of these brands are made in China and only shipped back to get the brand logo and repackaged. I have a friend who worked in LV's design department in Italy about 20 years ago, designing the small accessories and all goods before sending them to a factory. He claimed that LV markup on every product was 800%. This revelation has sparked a much larger conversation about the entire luxury industry and what we're really paying for prestige quality, or just the illusion of it. Since LV is a French brand and ought to be produced there, I honestly don't want to purchase any of their products. I also visited a boutique recently and found that the canvas doesn't feel as good as the older pieces, and the prices are absurd. LV needs to return to its roots.
Cost Dior less than 60 euros to make a handbag that it sells for nearly 3,000 euros. That's what Italian authorities found out when they raided factories making products for Dior and other fashion brands like Armani. The 60 euros does not include raw material and other expenses.
Now here's the real kicker. This might only be the beginning if Louis Vuitton is out here allegedly producing bags in China while parading around as the crown jewel of French fashion. How many other luxury brands are doing the exact same thing? Now let me break it down for real. Folks aren't just mad about the Made in China label, though let's be real, that alone had some luxury dyad spiraling. What's got people really losing their minds is the cold hard numbers behind it all. According to that viral factory worker, a Louis Vuitton bag, the same one sitting pretty in display windows behind velvet ropes, is allegedly made for just $15. And they've been turning around and charging us, what, $2,000, $3,000, all for something that costs less than a pizza and a drink to produce. The math ain't matting. And get this, it's not even like they're doing anything fancy to justify that markup once it hits Europe. According to insiders, the bags get made in China, shipped over, and then have the luxury label slapped on in Europe just to maintain that illusion of exclusivity.
Luxury brands like Prada, Armani, and even Louis Vuitton outsource a ton of their manufacturing to China, and now we're learning this for real. They ship the parts to Italy, do the same little thing with the stitching, maybe slap on the label, and boom, made in Italy. It's legal, but it isn't honest. If you're just throwing a label on something and saying made in Italy, but the whole thing was actually made somewhere else, you're lying.
People are furious, and some are even making jokes. But it's not really that they feel justified in raiding 55 stores to vent, because what they believe to be exquisite handcrafted artistry may just be glorified factory merch with a bougie sticker on it. You're telling me that all this time, people were out here flaunting their LV as though it was dipped in French sophistication, only to discover that it's actually mass manufactured like a fast fashion dupe.
Dude from Louis Vuitton is selling you the f***ing pipe dream mother. What is he selling you? That the Louis Vuitton bag is gonna make you dope. He conned everybody. There's a verse in the Bible that says, at the end of times, the merchants will deceive the entire world. Bro, that's all a scam. It's a gimmick. It's a facade. It's a capitalization on the identity of individuals, because people cannot have a self-identity because they don't know who you are. If I was to take away your car, if I was to take away your designer, what would be left? Or are you a carcass of the dreams of other men?
The Louis Vuitton leather goods collections are exclusively produced in our workshops located in France, the brand's website stated, prompting Louis Vuitton to jump in and refute all of these claims. Spain, our footwear and ready-to-wear collections are manufactured in France and Italy, as well as the United States. Our jewelry collections are created in France, Italy, and Switzerland, and our watches are only produced in Swiss timepiece workshops. The internet isn't buying it, not because people believe Louis can't make a solid product, but because we're all side-eyeing everything now. If this is the truth behind the so-called heritage craftsmanship, then what else have they been lying about? Are we really paying for quality? Or are we just falling for the illusion of an expensive dream sold by a brand that's been preying on our status cravings? Sunglasses are made in France and Italy, fragrances are made in France, and the finest materials are used in all of these workshops. Meanwhile, China is causing even more controversy by instructing customers on how to track the provenance of their high-end goods. Yes, there are now guides on how to determine whether your beloved French-made bag was actually made in China, and plot twist. Most of them involve people looking at tags and cross-referencing production codes. And every time it checks out, another customer wakes up from the luxury matrix. The timing is suspicious, as for years, this man made it clear that he was going to run LVMH until he was pushing 85. He even had rules changed to keep himself in charge longer. But now that he is 76, rumors are circulating that he is quietly preparing to step down, and not because he is tired. Let's face it though, things are getting spicy in the world of luxury. When TikTok detectives pull receipts demonstrating the bags are actually made in Chinese factories and sold with a markup, Louis Vuitton is being dragged for allegedly lying about its made in France claims. That is nothing short of criminal. We're talking about 1,000% profit margins, but it doesn't end there. In addition to dealing with brand backlash, Bernard is also taking serious hits to his finances, such as $9 billion gone in one morning. Yes, reports indicate that a 7% decline in LVMH shares in a single day erased billions from his net worth. And that came after a weak Q1 sales report that rattled investor confidence. Now, people are wondering if Bernard is stepping down because he wants to relax, or is leaving before the luxury bubble bursts because, let's face it, the global economy isn't looking very good. What do you think about this drama? Should it be legal for these luxury brands to lie to people like this? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. Also, don't forget to watch our other videos for even more scandalous stories. Until the next time, TikTok is pulling back the curtain on luxury lies, and these so-called elite brands are being exposed left and right. Whatever is happening, it's obvious the fashion throne isn't as secure as it once looked, and Bernard may be trying to step down before everything falls apart. Goodbye.